Mrs. Rayford,
Here.
Mrs. Richardson,
Present.
and Mrs. Grunberg.
Here.
Okay, if we could all stand, Dana will lead us in the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before I seek a motion for approval of the agenda, I'd like some adjustments to it. Number 8, executive closed session, if you could change that to 9, please. And then change 9 to 8. A, B, C will stay the same, so it'd be 8 A, B, C. And then where you have D, that would become 10. And adjournment would be 11. Okay? So with those adjustments, is anybody concerned? We're doing it mainly because we got to do a closed session, and the room we normally do a closed session in is being occupied right now. So we're trying to save it to the end of the meeting so that people who are here can be excused and we can just use this room.
I make a motion that we accept the agenda with the necessary corrections.
Support. Please call the roll. Or the vote, I'm sorry.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Grunberg,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes, Mrs. Rayford,
No.
Mrs. Richardson,
Yes.
and Mrs. Grunberg.
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion for the consent agenda?
Place forth a motion to approve the consent agenda as in its written form.
Support.
That's the secretary's call.
You didn't hear it.
Please call the vote.
Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mrs. Grunberg,
Yes.
Mr. Grunberg,
Yes.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes, Mrs. Rayford,
No.
Mrs. Richardson.
Approval for A and approval for B.
Okay, next we have superintendent's report. Superintendent Gibson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and those of you joining us at home. Let's celebrate some moments that matter. I can see we all survived the eclipse today. Congratulations, everybody. So I'd like to celebrate at Bellevue Elementary School. Principal Piper and the 4th grade team at Bellevue helped to launch a campaign for Forgotten Harvest, Coins That Count. Each class at Bellevue set a goal, brought coins in to raise money. In 2 weeks, our students raised $731 for a total of 2,924 meals for families in need. Thank you, Bellevue Elementary. All-winter conference, we have had 3 students named MAC Gold, Bronze, Silver, All Conference. Congratulations, boys basketball, James Phillips. MAC Gold, All Conference, boys basketball. Denia Sadler, girls basketball, MAC Conference Bronze. And Jade Satcher, competitive cheer, MAC Silver, All Conference. Solar eclipse lessons throughout the district today. Solar eclipse was on everybody's list of things to talk about, read about, write about. Thank you to Caitlin Keenitz and the teachers for sending forward some great pictures for us to celebrate. Here you see Miss Cameron's 8th grade class using Oreos to make their own solar eclipses. I personally will be picking up a pack to practice all by myself tonight. Oreo solar eclipses. Here we have some of the students. A number of our elementary schools distributed eclipse glasses, and students were outside observing, taking science notes, and talking about the solar eclipse this afternoon. So thank you to all of the schools that planned some great events to celebrate this science alive in our community. East Point High School had a college visit to Saginaw Valley State University. The McCann advisor, Kaya Gallagher, visited Saginaw and took a number of students. This is one of many college campus trips that our students have been taking, and we are grateful for the partnership with MCAN, exposing our students to what college life could look like. East Point High School this year had a junior day to pump up the juniors for their SAT prep, complete with Jeopardy in the library, and then off to the gym for games, tug of war, and fun activities to engage the kids and get them excited about taking the SAT. I was also told that the kids were very focused on taking the real SAT questions and playing those Jeopardy questions before the fun ones, because they would like to be better prepared to take this exam. So congratulations and a big thank you. I believe that Ms. Huff took pie to the face as well, so thank you so much for all you do, Ms. Huff.
Sitting there, I think.
Upcoming input sessions. As the community knows, we've been talking about our long-term facilities master plan conversation. There will be 2 input sessions, 4 to 6 p.m. on April 17th. It will be an in-person session. It will be facilitated by our representatives from Woolpert. It won't be it will be a process. So there will be small groups so that many people can have their voices lifted. On April 19th, we'll be running a virtual input session. It is during the school day, and it is intentionally that way so that a select group of high school and middle school students could participate so that they too can have their input into the long-term facilities master plan. Initial staff feedback. After we shared, the company Woolpert came here to the board and shared the 5 possibilities. They really left us with some big questions about, and the first of which starts with a very large, very old campus at our high school that is approaching 100 years old. In the summary of all of the staff feedback, we've got just under 100 staff took time to give their initial reactions to the themes and the plans that were presented by Woolpert. And our big 3 areas were building renovation. Many participants expressed a desire to see the high school renovated, citing the historical significance and potential. However, there were concerns about the cost of the project, some suggesting it would be more cost efficient to build a new facility. The state of the building was also a point of contention, with some participants describing it as unsafe or in disrepair. There was also a suggestion to use parts of the high school for community center. Overall, there is a desire, while there's this desire to preserve parts of the high school, there was also a recognition of the large financial and logistical challenge involved. The second consideration that emerged in our initial staff feedback is the grade consolidation. The idea of consolidating grades 6 to 12 in one building was met with mixed reactions. Some participants saw it as sensible and cost-effective, while others expressed concerns about the age gap between the students and the potential behavior issues that could arise from having a 612 campus. There were also questions about whether the existing sites were large enough to accommodate a combined but separate 612, so that there would be 2 different schools on one campus. Despite concerns, some participants felt that this option made the most sense given our financial situation and service model. In this initial staff feedback, there was not feedback, negative or positive, about a K-5 schools or pre-K-5 schools. The bulk of the conversation really focused on the concerns about putting 6 to 12 together. The third initial piece in the building closure was building closures. And again, this is lifted in the staff's initial feedback survey that was sent out. The potential closure of East Point High School was a contentious issue, as some participants felt that the building was a waste of resources and should be closed, while others argued that it is a vital part of the district and should be kept open. There were also suggestions to close other buildings, such as the School of Choice, which is opening schools of choice and or closing it, and Bellevue also. The concern was that staff didn't want to lose Bellevue Elementary by the proposed idea of moving the high school campus to where Bellevue. Overall, there is some support for closing the high school, but there is also a very strong desire to keep it open. I'd like to thank all of the staff who took the time to give their initial feedback. Our district team has gone through all of that feedback, and we appreciate the comments and the feedback, as well as in other parts of the conversation. So because the Early Learning Center emerged, I'd like to summary of some of the themes additionally was that the Early Learning Center is a topic of significant discussion. Lots of participants felt strongly that it should stand alone due to licensing, while others questioned the necessity of keeping them separate. The age of the building and the need for renovations was mixed. So Valerie Jens, the principal of our Early Learning Center, this week on Wednesday, will be having an opportunity for staff to list pros and cons to both plans. If we keep an Early Learning Center, this again is a long-term plan, but Val will be leading a conversation about the pros of keeping a standalone versus what the pros of bringing early learning into our buildings. So we're continuing to have lots of conversations and involving our staff in the co-creation of this plan, because our staff really has a lot of input and a lot of direct contact. Again, I want to make sure that everybody knows this is just a staff feedback survey. We will be collecting more information at our meetings facilitated by Wolpert. The elementary buildings, again, it was well received by staff to move to a K-5 model. Participants appreciate the traditional structure and feel that a K-5 model will benefit our students. There was some suggestions about considering K-6, but overall concerns were issued about having enough students to fill 4 buildings. And then lastly, again, it was reiterated in the previous slide, the idea of a 6 to 12 building was met with quite a bit of resistance from staff in all of the surveys. It's a very controversial aspect of the plan. So those are the initial staff feedback pieces. Again, we will continue to have these ongoing conversations. Just want to remind everybody that the purpose of this facilities master plan is that we are sitting on a high school approaching 100 years old. It does require a major condition overhaul, of which our bond funds don't even begin to scratch the surface of the work that needs to happen on that campus, let alone for it to serve as the hub of activity and a point of pride. The district does have significant surplus capacity, and again, it is not blaming schools of choice. It is our reality that we do have a number of families that do not choose to send their kids to our school district. But to change that, we have to invest more deeply. And to do that, we have to be realistic about continuing to operate facilities that are not fully being utilized. The way to do this is to reinvest in our restructure and our facilities. And then the last point about why we're making a long-term facilities master plan is that we finally got a taste of what it feels like to have work done in our facilities. This community supported a sinking fund. The district has been deeply investing their money in the sinking fund. We've got the awnings, those gorgeous signs, new floors, new casement work happening. And once you get the taste for what it feels like to have renovations done in your facilities, we want to keep going. And we want to get all of our schools to a good working order. How did we get here? Just to review for the community, this board adopted a strategic plan in 2023, and it has 5 goal areas focused on our learning environment and achievement, our high-quality staff, our community partnerships, and our fiscal management and operations. Each year, our team will continue to identify work. This work, a long-term facilities master plan, was identified in year 1 of our strategic plan, and it is a huge part of Goal Action Team 5, in which we've been reviewing contracts and continuing to improve our buildings. Prior to that, in 2020, the district did invest in a facilities assessment. And that's how we identified all of that work for our sinking fund, and how we have utilized our ESSER 3 funds to invest in our building. It's kind of cool to look at how far we've come when you look at the facilities assessment and see how many things we have already gotten done before we even we have not spent a dollar of our new bond money. And our buildings are already significantly in a better and different place than they were in 2020 when we finished that facilities assessment. This long-range facilities study with Wolpert is about making a long-term plan. So once we have a goal and a vision for where we want to get, then we will have some phases that will come in. And these conversations are solidifying the long-term plan. Then our team will start to work backwards and say, if this is the long-term plan, what incremental steps are we going to need to take to get there? I want to remind the community that East Point Community Schools historically between the years of 2014 and 2018 only invested $500,000 in improving and maintaining our facilities. That was well off the pace. The industry model is a 2% investment model, and we were spending $500,000 annually. Then, due to the infusion of additional funds, we have now started to invest to about $2 million annually in our school properties. Again, still way off of the pace of the national average of 2%. But for us, we've got to establish this long-range vision, and we have to deal with our underutilized facilities, our declining enrollment, our current financial situation, and where we find ourselves today. Our planned bond work will still be completed. In our bond, we planned for a CTE culinary arts kitchen space for high school students. Irregardless of where we land on a facilities master plan, that work is going to happen. But before we spend that money, we have to do our due diligence to make sure that we are investing the taxpayer bond funds how we said we would, and then where we said we would do it. So those playground equipment and playfield conditions that are in the bond work, that is all still going to happen. However, we may need to make an adjustment on where or how we do it. If we decide to have pre-K facilities, there are different requirements for pre-K program play spaces. So this long-term facilities master plan is ensuring that this bond money is invested well. And I know that this community has felt that the bond dollars were not used well before. And the long-term facilities master plan is to ensure that we are using your taxpayer dollars well, and that they serve this community long into the future. So again, I want to remind you that we have upcoming community input sessions. We will have a survey that will be sent out after this for our community to engage in. And if the team feels we are not able to set a long-term vision, we'll make any tweaks. But we are, at this time, only planning these 2 community input sessions. If any community members are unable to attend but have strong feelings, I encourage you to email myself directly or Wendy Coleman, and she will make sure that the board has your input. Again, we will also be sending out a survey to capture more community input. Upcoming events, April 16th, there is no school for students. It is a professional learning day. I want to remind families that this date was a calendar change due to an election in Warren. And so that is a no school day for students. April 17th is a facilities master plan input session. April 18th is senior pinning and honors night. April 19th is your second facilities master plan virtual input session. Gleaners mobile food distribution May 2nd, and May 30th is commencement at Macomb Community College. And that concludes your superintendent's report.
I just want to make a comment as far as the master plan is concerned. I am glad that we got the bond money, and then we kind of took the approach of, let's take a breath first, and let's figure out exactly how we're going to spend this money and make sure that we're not investing money into facilities that may no longer be there or might not be used in that same way. So we took a breath to do this. I just want to let everybody know in the public, because some people think, well, wow, our enrollment's down. I was talking to another superintendent of another district recently, and they have 7 elementaries, and all those elementaries are basically at roughly about half capacity. So this is not unique to East Point. I think actually if I'm not mistaken, over the last 2 census cycles, I think the state of Michigan has actually lost students. I think we're one of the few states in the United States that have actually lost students over the last 2 census cycles. So this is not unique to East Point as far as the loss of students. It's schools of choice does kind of change it a bit, and so some schools may suffer greater losses than other school districts, but we're all suffering overall loss of students in the state of Michigan. So this is not unique to us. I am glad that administration and the board has decided that, hey, we're going to take a breath here. We're going to make sure we do this right, and I think it's the way to do it. And please, and I've been stressing everybody I talk to, please get involved and have your voice heard. So show up for the input sessions, please. Okay? Next item, hearing of the public. Does anyone wish to be heard? We'll open that up at 6:51.
Good evening. My name is Janet Beiersdorf-Hofnagel, proud East Point High School teacher and resident. I just wanted to note that we do have a couple of other upcoming events. It's testing month. The high school is testing this week. College board testing is happening. 8th grade is testing tomorrow. And then 9, 10, and 11 are testing on Wednesday. Shoo. And then 11th grade will also take ACT work keys on Thursday. I just wanted to speak also to the junior day activities and shout out Meredith Rodriguez, teacher at the high school, who really, I said, hey, I need some help getting kids, the juniors really excited or building teamwork and community around testing. And she took my ask and just ran with it and made this awesome program for our juniors, put them into house teams, really helped them to build camaraderie and friendship and community around this kind of, daunting test that they have to take. And so students on test day will be in those houses together with this community that they've built to kind of have that support going into testing. And so she and I just kind of, and Diane Peters just kind of really took it there. She deserves she put in a lot of work, and it was a really fun day for students. They're all hyped up about testing now. So I think that's all. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to be heard? Does anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing of the public at 6:54. Next, discussion action, human resources. Is there a motion for approval of the non-instructional new hire?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve support of non-instructional new hires.
Support, sorry.
Please call the vote.
Mrs. Grunberg,
Yes.
Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Grunberg,
Yes.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mrs. Rayford,
Yes.
Mrs. Richardson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next, we have business operations, discussion, financial information for the board report.
Good evening. In your board report this past time, the actual financial package was not included. Instead, there was a memo from me that addressed a certain circumstance that happens as a result of moving up the internal due date for our financial information, which allows the board package to be distributed a few days earlier to the board, allowing more time for a review. So what happens is we get paid on the 10th and 25th of each month. So there would be a payroll associated, a report associated with each one of those runs. And then we run checks to accounts payable roughly once a week. Depending on holidays or vacations, it may vary a little bit. So the last cycle, it resulted in, because of the earlier cutoff date, that no payroll report was going to be run during that time period. And it was just a small little check register. So we kind of went back and thought, this is going to occur periodically with this new cutoff date, that we submit financial information to the board once a month as required by policy. So you would be getting 2 payrolls on the 10th and 25th included in your board package, and then the check run for the entire month, the previous month. So at the second board meeting of the month, you'd get the package of financial information for the previous month. And I just wanted to make sure that was acceptable to the board.
Do you think you need a motion, or do you just want consensus?
No. we
I mean,
did
is there
not
anybody who's
expect-
opposed?
Yeah.
Is there anybody opposed? He's just going to run it once a month instead of every 2 weeks, some of the reports.
And when we asked feedback from trustee Richard Rayford, who has previously asked for, to have a meeting about financials, she thought it might make more sense to see it in a whole month instead of in a half of a month. That's why we thought it would make more sense. Our board policy in Article 6, Section 1 it actually says monthly financial statements. So there's no action,
Yeah.
just an open discussion to be transparent about a possible change.
Well, and that's why I'm just asking, is anybody really opposed? We don't see anybody opposed, that's really the only change. We're still going to see all the information, we're just going to see it a little less frequently, that's all.
I just want to comment, but either way was transparent, right?
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it is easier. Actually, Yarsland, so.
Listen, if we're going to make decisions about what's easier for
You don't have
Robert,
much, you don't have much of a poker face, Robert, I just want to let you know. I want to play cards with you. Okay, thank you, Robert.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have curriculum. We got a couple presentations. And first up,
so I'd like to introduce interim principal LaShawn Baskin. And she is the interim principal for Crescentwood Elementary. Welcome, LaShawn.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am so excited to be here to talk about Crescentwood and our amazing students and staff. So let's go ahead with slide 1. The first thing that I wanted to talk about was just our enrollment. At the beginning of the year in fall, we had 234 students, and there was a slight increase in the winter to 249 students. If you notice, our kindergarten students, they increased by eight students. And then our first graders increased by 7 students. And it looks like our second graders didn't move at all, but there was some movement with students moving in and coming back. So we had 83 students there. even though it said 0, we had students moving in and out. And then we also have curriculum. I just wanted to highlight what our curriculum is because we have our we're a K2 building, so we are servicing our smaller students, our younger students. And so we have our traditional reading program, which is our MESA reading and writing. We also are currently piloting our iReady reading, and I'm sure Lisa will talk more about that in a little bit. We have iReady Math, which has been fully implemented this year. And then we have Mystery Science. Our MC3 is our social studies. And we're excited because now our students with special needs, they have a Teach Town, which is a reading program that I'm sure will be discussed later. That's our curriculum. And then we have our NWEA school data, just to give you a highlight as to what's happening in our schools. So in the fall and winter, we took our math NWEA scores, and they came out, and we saw some growth, which is amazing. We expect to see growth, but I just wanted to highlight that for our kindergartners. In the fall, they averaged 135.6 as far as their RIT score, and then when they took it in the winter, their score was 143.2, so there was an increase of 7.6 points for them, which is really great. Our first graders, they scored 144.9 on average. And then that was in fall, but in winter, they increased by 9.7 points, which was 154.6. And then our students with special needs, they scored at a 133.3. And if you notice, they, in the winter, scored 139.6 with an increase of 6.3. So we're really happy to see all this increase with our students, their growth. And then our second grade students, our general population, 157.5 is what they scored on average in the fall. And then in the winter, they went up to 164.2 for a 6.7 point increase. So we were really excited to see across the board that our students are doing well, and we attribute that to great teaching and our new math curriculum. Over to the right, we have our reading, fall and winter scores for kindergarten. And then kindergarten, it was 134.3 was in the fall, and in the winter, they increased to 138.7, which was a 4.4 point gain. And then our first graders, for fall, they averaged 140.7, and they increased in the fall to 152.5, which was an 11.8 point increase, which was amazing. And then our students with special needs, again, they scored a 139.1, and there was a slight dip there with a 135.3. So there was a small decrease of 3.8 points. And then our second graders, they in the fall scored 157 even, and then in the winter they scored 162, which was an increase of 5 whole points. And so we were really excited to see the growth. And for our students with special needs, with that -3, we have Teach Town now, so we're really, really excited because when I go in, I see some great things. The teachers are seeing some good things with our students. So we're expecting to see growth around the board with this new reading program. This is some more data, and just to give you a clearer picture of what's happening with iReady. iReady was introduced last year. This is the first year where it's been fully implemented in the fall. And I actually took a picture so that I can explain those scores to you. Just 1 second. Because you can't really see it because they're really small. But I wanted to highlight a few things. And the things that I wanted to highlight was that bar graph on the top. That is the bar graph that we took in the winter. And the one on the bottom is the one we took in the fall. And what's important to see is that that red section is a section where our students were 2 grade levels behind. It's no secret that education has been struggling across the board with students. And so we're working really, really hard to address all the needs of our students. And so at the bottom, our students, when they test with iReady, they were testing in that red section, 60, I can't see it on here, excuse me. the percentage was higher, and you can see that. But when you look at the bar graph on top, that red is getting much smaller. And so when I look at the numbers with that two grade levels behind, we had 75 students come into school in the beginning of the year, and they were 2 grade levels behind. But now that number has decreased to 62 students. And so those students have shifted over and to the 1 grade level behind. 1 grade level behind puts us closer to getting our students on grade level, and we're really excited about that. So when we look at that yellow section, we had 118 students in the fall in that yellow section, and now we're up to 120, which means we're getting closer. Because if you notice, at the bottom, there was very little green. There was like 1% green. But when you look on the top, that number has increased. So altogether, we had 1 student that was on grade level. We're up to 7 students now that tested at grade level. And then we had 1 student that was above grade level. We have now 6 students that are above grade level. So those percentages are really growing, and we're trending in the right direction. We haven't used iReady Math a whole year yet. But as we see, our students are trending, and we really are excited to see them grow, because the next time we take it, that green section is going to be even larger, and that red section is going to be even smaller. So our students are getting what they need, and we're really excited to see that. Okay, these are our positive behavior incentives and supports for our students. You guys may hear us say PBIS, that's the acronym. But this is what's happening at Crescentwood. We're really excited because when our students are coming to school every day, we talk about academics, we talk about attendance, and we talk about behavior. And those are the things that we focus on. So when we look at our academics, these are the rewards. We oftentimes hear about students not doing the right thing, but there are a lot of students that are doing the right thing. And so we want to highlight and celebrate them as much as possible. So we're starting to do a lot, and we did a lot, but there's a lot more coming. So excuse me, for our students who are achieving their academics, we have a Star Wars ceremony every month. They have lunch with the principal. It's a really big deal. They really get excited to have lunch with the principal. It's an exclusive club for the month. We have Academic Achievement Award and a luncheon that's coming up. So our students who are meeting the mark with NWEA, our students who have met the mark with iReady, they will have a luncheon and a big celebration as well. We have a school-wide assembly, which is a reading and development that's coming. We have a breakfast with the principal. Parents will be invited. We'll have that next week. For attendance, we have really been pushing attendance because, as you know, attendance has been a struggle. Again, across the country, it isn't just at East Point, it's a struggle. So we do things to bring our students and get them involved and, push our parents to bring them to school. So we are currently having weekly attendance incentives. And the students, they don't know what the surprise is going to be on Friday, but they can get their picture taken. They get a PA shout out so everybody hears their name. That's a really big deal to K-2 students. They may get a treat. This week, instead of doing that, I just have this huge treasure box, so I let the students come in and pick from the treasure box. So that was a really big hit, so we'll be doing that again. All of it's a big hit. At the beginning of the year, this picture was we did a week-long attendance, and we had the bounce house. We have a bounce house, so that's a really big deal, but we don't want to overdo that one, so we pull it out from time to time, and the students got a chance to bounce in it, those students that had perfect attendance. And then we have a bulletin board recognition, so students get their names up on the bulletin board and their picture. And then for perfect attendance, there's an award ceremony where the parents come in and they get to celebrate with us, and we get to reward our students with an award, and that's a big hit because the parents get to participate as well. And then our behavior. We have a positivity project that the teachers work on with the students. It is regarding character development. We implemented the Secret Star Student. And the Secret Star Student, the teacher is looking for behavior, the students that are showing leadership and the students that are doing the right thing. And so the students don't know who they are, but the teachers pick a secret star student each day. And then on Fridays, the last 2 Fridays, they've enjoyed coming for like a movie. So 20 minutes to a second grader is like the best. But it's 20 minutes well worth it, because they get to watch Clifford or they get to watch some type of movie. And it's a big thing because they're being honored and celebrated for doing the right thing. And then we have Most Improved Student. We have a Most Improved Student Award because we do have students who may struggle with behavior and self-regulation. We're working really hard with our RBTs, our behavior team, and our social worker. So those students are celebrated as well. So they have an opportunity to at least at some point be recognized, because we want to encourage them as well. We have lunch with the principal with that as well. So again, that's a big thing. And then we have school-wide assemblies like that talks about and focuses on character development, anti-bullying, and so on and so forth. We have one coming this Thursday that I hope the students will really enjoy. We have academic intervention programs as well for our students who maybe missed the mark and need a little bit more support. The teachers in the classroom do guided reading and they work with their students, but we also have other adults that come in and help our students. So we have the integrated transitional kindergarten, and that's what they help students prepare for traditional kindergarten. Sometimes our students are a little younger, and so they may not be ready just yet, but they want to come to school. So they come to school and we prepare them with those foundational skills. We also have level literacy intervention, which we call it LLI, and it helps to support the students and build their foundational reading skills as well. And then we implemented high dosage tutoring, that's the MISD program for reading and math, and it's an after-school tutoring program, and we're seeing success with that. And the picture on the bottom is one of our teachers and her students getting ready for the program. We have parent engagement. So parent engagement, we've been really pushing, working with our parents. So at the beginning of the year, we had our back-to-school barbecue where we had over 50 families participate. We have our parent meeting. The very first one had 17 families, but I know we're going to keep increasing that. We had a Halloween parade where 38 families, and when I say families, that means they may have brought other people with them. So it's not just 38 people. Those are family members that came, and that was something that they were really proud to see, their students walking through and doing a parade. It was something so small, but it meant so much to the students and the families. I got so many thank yous for that, and I was just like, wow, to hear just thank you so much for letting us come in to be a part, just stuck with me, meaning we have to do more to invite our families in, and we're working on that. We have honors award ceremonies. Our last month's ceremony, we had over 80 parents there, which was incredible. I think there's a picture on there where you'll see it was standing room only. We ran out of seats. Like, we were pulling out chairs, and there was a delay. It was a good delay because to see the parents, they were just coming through the door and the kids were excited. We were excited. So that was good to see. Then we're going to have breakfast and lunch achievement, a breakfast and lunch achievement award. I'm saying we're going to because the achievement ceremony is Monday, and then we're going to have breakfast/lunch brunch. Depends on when we finish because we have a lot of awards to give out. So they will have that special time with the principal. The parents will be invited along with the students. So that's going to be a little different, but we really want to concentrate on bringing our families into the building. We had our literacy night a couple weeks ago, and we had 25 families participate. Our STEM night is upcoming. It's on the 24th. And then we're going to have a multicultural night in May, where those are family outings where they'll come back to the school and celebrate with us and learn something new. And then these are our pictures. It says great things are happening at Crescentwood. Up at the top where you see the lady dancing, that's our secretary. The students were like getting down at our parent meeting. That was our barbecue actually. And so she had to get out there and cut a rug with them. To the right of that picture, I know it's small, we have our parent meeting. And then underneath it, I wish I could just show you. Underneath like this section here, those are all the different awards. We have our a bulletin board with perfect attendance. So our student, you see all those students crowded around the bulletin board. They took a picture. There's a picture where the students are sitting on the gym. That's where they got a chance to look at their movie for their weekly perfect attendance award. The one to the left, where you see all the stuff on the table, that was our Star Store, where actually that was just this week when I took out the items from my treasure box, and we just laid them all out and let the students go and pick from their treasure box. The picture where there's a lot of people, you can't really see it, but it's this one here. I'm super tall, so this one here, that's where we had the 80 parents. They were like surrounding the students, so that was super cool. Underneath that one, we have this is a teacher right here cutting a rug. She is really getting into it, and right here as well. We were excited about that. That was for one of our incentives, and the one to the far left in the corner, that is a lot of our students who received perfect attendance, and we're seeing an increase with that. We're really trying to push and encourage our students, our parents, to get our students to school, because when they're this young, it's about encouraging our parents to get them to school. And so far, we're seeing an improvement. Up at the top in the middle with the young lady with the pink on and the young man underneath, yeah, those two. During Black History Month, those were two of the announcers. We had different students come and make announcements to the whole school. So they were on the PA and they read a Black History fact and taught everyone in the school something. And then they also made announcements like if there was recess or not, which was a big deal, and said good morning and all these things. So we're working on building leadership skills in them as well. To the far right of that, the two young men next to the bulletin board, I'm so proud of them. Those are my babies who they earned a positive behavioral reward. And so they were super excited that they got a chance to participate. Underneath with the young man on the monkey bars and the little girl with the hula hoop, they are participating in our Healthy Kids Club program that is on Tuesdays in the afternoon. So they get a chance to learn about eating, exercise, all those great things. And all those pictures are that. Down here, those are our students with, that's our students with special needs classroom, and that's where Teach Town is taking place. You have a teacher in the upper corner with a group of students, and then you have the parapro at the bottom working along with a different set of students, and they're getting their needs met. To the right of that, these were right here. I am so proud of our students. So this year for March's Reading Month, we invited our district employees to come. And a lot of them came and read to our students, and it was absolutely amazing. So that young man there is Roger. He is one of our maintenance people. And he was like, I don't know about that, Ms. Baskin. I'm like, you can do it, come on. So he did it, and he did such a great job. I picked that picture. I wish you could see his smile was so bright that I had a classroom where someone didn't come, and I was like, can you do one more class? And he was like, yeah, I can do it. And I was just so like, oh my goodness, next year, I got him next year. And so his partner, well, you know him as Maurice on Release, but he came as well. And it was so cool because they were just bopping around. Like, he came twice. Well, he came like 2 or 3 days, and he said, whatever you need, I'll do it. And so if someone backed out or didn't come, he filled that space. So I was super excited about that. And then above that picture, there's our little student. She is absolutely amazing. We celebrated, there's a Rare Disease Day. And so we learned about that. The students learned about it, and we acknowledged and recognized it. Everyone wore stripes. And that's a picture at the top with all the teachers who wore stripes. There were more the day before, but she didn't come to school that day. So everybody was like, oh my goodness, I wore my stripes already. But a lot of us found another striped shirt. So that's her with her teacher and some teachers, and me with her in the office at the bottom. Up at the very top, the little lady that looks like she's 100 years old, for 100th day, she dressed as an old granny, and she's got her wig on. She's got just the cane and everything. Next to her on the left is our social worker working with one of our students. And we're so happy to have her. She's an amazing addition to, she's been with us for a month now. But just to see the students and how they gravitated towards her, and she's able to talk to them and they have a place to go to for support is amazing. To the far right on the corner, you can barely see, but there's a young man tapping on the board. He's reading on the board. So he's not able to read himself the way, traditionally, the way we expect to see students sitting and reading. However, he's tapping and he's reading along. So I just thought I'd highlight that. And all the way down to the bottom in the corner, that is Zuri Carr Skinner. She's an author in our school. Her daughter is in front of me. That's Zuri. So her mom is an author. She wrote a book. And in writing her book, the book was centered around Zuri. And so it's called Zuri's Magical Shoes. And so for Literacy Night, she came and she had an amazing display. She was a station where our parents went to her and she read and they asked questions and our secretary is right next to her. Ms. Johnson, she's amazing as well. But it was just a really good night. We have some really, really great things happening at Crescentwood. And I just wanted to highlight those for you. That's it. Oh, that picture that just popped up was just another incentive that we had. Actually, that was Spirit Week, and so the students all got a chance to wear their PJs. They love PJ Day. So that was what was happening there. Okay.
Questions, comments?
I have a question.
Mr. Baskin, thank you for giving us a full picture of what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a disconnect regarding March, and I really apologize.
That's fine. I understood.
But I did say, if I can ever do anything another time, just let me know.
Definitely.
But really happy. I know last fall when I went to Crescentwood, some of the staff over there said no board member had ever been over there. And I was surprised by that because I did make it a point to get to every school because I wanted everyone to know that I'm interested in what I can do to help.
Okay.
So I really appreciate all the work you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Going back to your slide where you were talking about the secret club for the students. They get to eat lunch, breakfast, dinner, and all that stuff throughout the week. That's for the students that were getting good marks on their NWEA and different things like that.
No, they're having a luncheon. The secret student, the secret star student, because we're stars, so everything is centered around being having star behavior. That's for our students who they're our star student of the week. And then we have students that are most improved. Those are the students that's something that started in September, so I just kept it going. But we weren't recognizing our students that have academic achievements. So for me personally, that's something that's important. If you're meeting the mark, you deserve to be celebrated too. So that's where our luncheon is coming in, where parents will be invited, and our students will also get a chance to be honored and celebrated.
Okay, so the luncheon was in the behavior category?
It's behavior and it's perfect attendance, yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But the secret student, that was in one of the other categories. I was just wondering, from the time you started in September to now, have you seen that grow? Have you been able to grow more students and get more students in that upper echelon, or has it stayed the same?
Absolutely. So at this point, I am kind of nervous about how many people, it's a good nervous, about how many students, because I see the list and it's extensive for the luncheon, and then with their parents as well. I'm like, okay, we need to make sure these numbers are together, and I need to make sure that I have enough food to feed all these people. So it's to the point where I'm going to have to do RSVPs to see what parents can come. And, but yes, it has definitely grown since I've been there.
Okay, well, I would be glad to be a chaperone at the luncheon and the breakfast and the brunch.
Come anytime.
I mean,
anytime.
just to help you out.
Okay. Now I'm going to hold you to it, okay?
I'd just like to say I'd like to thank you for, and I wish all the best for your multicultural day that you have coming up in May. I think that would be something wonderful.
Oh, yeah, it will be. And I will send you all an invite. Okay?
I want to applaud you for not only giving attention to our good students, but giving attention to our struggling students. Because many times the struggling students never see the good things, so they never have anything to strive for.
Right.
And so I applaud you for doing that. It really makes, it can turn a child with behavioral issues into a dynamic student. And so I would applaud you for that, and I would ask that you continue to do that for them, because we don't know what's going on that makes a lot of our children, act out. And so those things will help them not act out.
Yeah.
So I do applaud you. I don't know who said that board members ain't never been to Crescentwood before. They must don't know who the board members are, because I've been in Crescentwood plenty of times.
Okay.
So, and I know.
They will moving forward, because I'm going to invite you to everything. So.
Look, please do. As long as it's inside and it's not outside, I'll be there. I don't do nothing outside.
Okay.
Inside, yes.
Okay.
You don't have to invite me to all the food things. That's Mr. Williams' category.
Okay.
I'm just a chaperone.
That's all the men on the board.
Right.
Is that where we're gonna get the donuts from?
No.
No, that's.
Can I go? I just want to applaud you. You've done a fantastic job stepping in like you did, and
Well, thank
I've
you.
heard nothing but great things coming from there.
Well, thank
So
you.
great job.
Thanks.
I have a question. That barbecue, that back-to-school barbecue, was that on the evening when I bumped into you at the school?
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
It was.
No more having elementaries having things on the same night. Because if I remember correctly, I had to run in and run out because another elementary was having a back-to-school event that same night.
Yep.
So I missed out on the barbecue is what you're
You
telling me.
missed out. We'll have it again. So you,
Come to the food events.
See, even if you show up, sometimes you don't get the food. I'm telling you.
Better show up and stay.
Okay. Well, you had to go. But anyways, I just wanted to say, I don't think it was the first time I bumped into you, but it was the first time I had a chance to actually chat with you for a bit. And I can tell you, I walked away with a very warm and fuzzy feeling, and feeling like, man, I really wish I was a kid in this elementary.
Oh.
Because you just made me feel that good. I mean, as far as, and I really wanted to applaud you for stepping up when we needed you.
okay.
And for filling in where we needed you. And special thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have anything else?
I just want to say, great job. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I've been in a lot of the schools. We ain't got that many schools, so I know I've been in every school. So, I mean,
Okay.
to see the joy of the children running around, they know they're safe, they're full of joy, and they're learning, and all your numbers are increasing. So,
Yes.
great job.
Thank you.
All right. So I'd like to introduce Stephanie Fleming, Assistant Superintendent, who will help introduce her team for the presentation.
Well, good evening. We're back with another. This is exciting, though, because I can't remember in my 23 years in this district bringing this much curriculum ever to the table in such a short period of time. So really kudos to this team and to our staff for taking on these pilot situations. As Principal Baskin mentioned, that's going on in her building as well. And there's been some really positive impacts from the onboarding of curriculum. So tonight, we're bringing forward the K-5 ELA curriculum after a pilot. We are proposing the iReady was selected, and Lisa Petrella, who's the Director of Curriculum and Assessment for our district, and then Donna Anderson and Jeff Tompkins are also here as supports. iReady consultant extraordinaire, and then Donna has done a tremendous amount of work supporting the curriculum team with our pilot programs. This is aligning with our strategic plan goal area 1, which was bringing forward all this core K-12 curriculum. So this is another component to our multi-year plan, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lisa so she can show you all of the work that's been going on.
Lisa, could you turn on your microphone, please?
How's that? Better? Okay. So we're not going to ask for a vote this evening, but we would like to provide you with as much information as possible. This will include our current needs, and you can go to the next slide there, the work of the curriculum department and the pilot teams, our adoption process and timeline, and some data from pretty much months and months of work that we've put into this effort. As you recall, we began our work towards our strategic plan goal of a guaranteed and viable curriculum for all subjects last school year. As Stephanie said, I came to you with some presentations for K-8 math, for 6-12 ELA, and for grades 9 through 12 math. We have been implementing these new resources and providing training and support to staff this year. In addition to this, a large goal for this year was the K-5 ELA pilot, using our district's curriculum adoption process. We began with a review of current resources that teachers were utilizing during their literacy blocks, and we surveyed our K-5 teachers. You can go to the next slide. That shows you a little bit of the work that we've been doing. So that kind of went along with what I was saying before. So Donna and I have worked with Stephanie. We have a really detailed plan, a year at a time, so that we have different stages of curriculum implementation that's happening. You can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so our first step, we began with a review of those current resources, and we surveyed all of our K-5 ELA teachers. Our teachers responded with some excellent feedback, and we gained some valuable information from them. When asked what areas are lacking in our current K-5 ELA resources, we heard you teachers. There was things such as MESA is very confusing, it's difficult to use, it's not a good fit for our students. We want more writing. We want something in keeping with the latest research. We also asked, next slide, what would be the most important characteristics or features that you'd want to see in a new curriculum? And they, not surprisingly, mentioned things such as we want it to be engaging for our students. We want it to have clear expectations. We want it to be easy to use. We want it to be teacher as well as student friendly. What the next slide shows are the top 3 things that they stated were most important to them as teachers. And that would be choosing something that would be easy to use, that would engage our students, and that would, tied for third, would be increasing the rigor, and that it would have some of those intervention pieces to bring kids up to speed quickly. When we did an audit of some of our current resources, we found that there were very many resources being used. Keeping in mind that many of our staff are brand new teachers or some working towards certification, it became clear that we really needed to simplify and also provide a high-quality resource that all K-5 teachers can implement with fidelity, one that our instructional coaches and principals can easily support and monitor, and a resource that aligns with state ELA standards. ELA standards include reading, writing, speaking, listening, and language. So there's a lot to cover, especially over a K-5 span. In just a few years, we're moving kids from learning to read to reading to learn. Next slide, please. I'd like to next share our timeline with you. I know that might be a little small for you to see the print, but I'm going to walk you through the timeline that, and all the hard work that's been going on in the district. After surveying our staff, the next step in our adoption process was to bring a curriculum adoption team together. This is a core group of instructional coaches, administration, and our team. The first step was to dig into ed reports to identify resources that were rated all green, which is the highest ranking. In order for a vendor even to be considered to present to that team, it needed to be vetted through ed reports, just like those other curriculum pieces that we brought to you in the past. In October and November, the team viewed 3 vendor presentations. We did some classroom walkthroughs to try and get a feel for the ELA instruction throughout the 4 elementary buildings. And then we identified our pilot team of teachers. In December, we began piloting our first resource, which was Benchmark Advance. We held 3 check-in meetings with staff. The vendor was at, I believe it was our second meeting, to answer any questions that the team might have. And then, as part of our process, the teachers completed, the teachers completed 1 instructional unit, and then as part of our process, we debriefed with the team, and they completed it in an input form, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Right after that, you'll see on the timeline, we then began readying that same team for the next resource number 2, which happened to be our iReady literacy portfolio. Teachers were trained, actually on Valentine's Day, February 14th of this year, and many gave the diagnostic test the very next day. That was something they were very familiar with since they use it already with math. And then we had winter break, and then when they returned from winter break, they were ready to go with that next pilot period, that next unit using the second resource. Again, we had 3 check-in meetings with our staff after school for an hour on Wednesdays. Jeff and our friends from iReady came to assist at one of those meetings. It became very apparent to me early on, even though I had to be neutral, became very apparent to me early on that teachers and students were really having a different experience with this resource. I've never been in a Google Meet where I've seen so many thumbs up and heart emojis going up when other teachers were talking about their experience. Others were saying, all right, or me too, and kind of, it was just a feel-good meeting, and you could just feel the excitement that was being generated as teachers were talking about their experience with these resources. We held our final debrief meeting on March 20th. We met with our core adoption team, gathered that group back together on March 21st, and then we took our recommendation to our DTN and our cabinet next, and now here we are. So the next steps are listed here. We have a star by tonight's meeting. We're going to have an opportunity for our board to review the resources, get your hands on those materials. We do have an invite that went out, I believe, for April 19th. And then we'll be back to you at the next board meeting on April 22nd to ask for your vote to adopt these materials. So this has been months of great work, important work, and really, honestly, incredibly exciting work. If you know anything about ELA and K-5, there's a lot of moving parts, as I said, and it's been a very exciting time. I want to thank the core adoption team, if you go to the next slide, and our pilot teachers for their input and their due diligence throughout this whole time. The 12 pilot team members we kind of were referencing, they're our terrific 12. We couldn't think of another nickname, but they really went above and beyond. And so if you're listening, please thank a pilot team member because they've done amazing work. For each resource, pilot teachers completed an input input form, rating evidence and looking for the elements of a high-quality comprehensive ELA curriculum. So you'll see them listed up there. Things like foundational reading skills, phonics, reading, vocabulary, and writing are all part of that comprehensive ELA plan. Other things that we asked them to consider were text diversity, professional development, the quality of training that they received, the alignment to the essential practices for ELA, and the quality of assessments within the units that were taught, as well as the other things that I mentioned before that were important to them, the ease of use, the engagement, the increase of rigor, and the intervention pieces for students who are not yet at grade level. We knew we wanted texts that students could see themselves in and connect them to the world beyond their classroom doors. And not just by chance, throughout Black History Month, I believe it was the fourth graders who were reading about the Harlem Renaissance were really, no pun intended, really jazzed about that. So there's a lot of text that the kids are really, really, really excited to read. Much different than what they've read in the past with the MESA units. And just having books that they can hold in their hands has been wonderful. Another component that edged iReady ahead is the fact that it was somewhat familiar for both students and staff. And this next slide shows the diagnostic assessment that helps teachers know exactly where kids are and what they need. I realize you can't see this slide. It's the same as when Ms. Baskin was presenting, but I wanted you just to focus in on those colors, so I created a key. Green represents the early on to mid and above grade level. Okay, so those are our students who are at the top there. Yellow, 1 grade level below, and red would be 2 or 3 grade levels below or more for each component of reading that you may or may not be able to see up there. So this would be kind of our pre-test. This is what our teachers gave for this pilot, just for those 12 classrooms in February. So I'd like to next take a look at each individual component of this iReady portfolio. As I said before, literacy, and reading and writing are complex processes. There's lots of moving parts. The iReady assessment, which you see along the top there, is for all grades, and just like NWEA, iReady is a benchmark assessment that's recognized by the MDE. The entire portfolio has several pieces that are shown on this diagram. The foundational skills are taught in grades kindergarten through 2nd grade with magnetic reading foundations. That's the name of the resource. Students who need these foundational skills in the upper L's can use phonics for reading and as an intervention. But tonight we're focused just on Tier 1 instruction, but this may be a component that we look at a future date, and we may consider that for students who may be in need of that intervention. So that's the only piece on that diagram that we're not going to ask you to consider tonight. For comprehension in K2, students use ready reading. In 3-5 for comprehension, they use magnetic reading. Writing in kindergarten and 1st grade, writing is mainly response to text. It's embedded in the lessons, in the reading lessons that the students are engaging in. This is in the teacher toolbox, which is that beautiful digital toolbox for teachers. It's a one-stop shop. Everything is there. I know when we adopted iReady Math, we talked a lot about that. Teachers have access to so many amazing resources within that toolbox. Formal writing, for formal writing, we'll use ready writing. And let's see, students begin this more formal writing using the writing process in 2nd grade. So finally, along the bottom there, you'll see the personalized instruction piece, and this is included to give students support based on their performance on their diagnostic, just like we currently have for iReady Classroom Math. Now I'm gonna break all of those pieces down, we're gonna dig a little deeper with each of these. So this slide shows a breakdown of what we will be requesting to be purchased for this adoption. So I'll give you a moment to look that over. Again, this will be a multi-year adoption of these components of the iReady literacy portfolio, which includes various resources for the different grade spans. The pieces that were very important to us, besides the materials and the teacher's books and the student books, would be that professional development piece. We've been having great success with the coaching that the iReady team has provided to our teachers, to our coaches, to our principals, as we have begun implementation with math. And so we want to ensure that we have that with the ELA as well. Okay, for the sake of time, the next several slides just are highlighting each component. I would like to share this slide deck with all of you so you have time to dig a little deeper. I'm not going to read every slide. There's a lot on there, but I just wanted to, again, just kind of dig a little deeper with each of these components. So actually, if you go back really quickly to the K2 foundations, those are the foundational skills that are key to a student's future success. Students do need explicit instruction and age-appropriate learning opportunities to ensure they're engaging with the right content at the right time. So that is magnetic reading foundations. Next slide. Ready Reading, K2, provides a lot of teacher-led discussion, small group collaboration, and intentional lessons that scaffold the learning. Students are really enjoying the real-world texts that bring in science and social studies and the arts. For the 3rd through 5th graders, they will have magnetic reading. Students are building confidence as they begin to master essential reading skills. Again, just like with our math, iReady has a lot of lively discourse. That's a piece where students are really talking to one another about their learning. There's culturally rich, engaging texts, lots of purposeful practice in this with that resource. For writing, writing begins formally, as I said a moment ago, in grade 2. So grades 2 through 5, they engage in the writing process. The writing lessons are kind of interwoven, and all of the writing standards are addressed, and often there's a connection with the science and the social studies themes as well, which brings that extra element for students. Students do produce real-world writing. They build knowledge through research using text-based evidence, important life skills, and those skills that are sure to be on the high-stakes testing that actually Ms. Huff was just talking about earlier tonight. Okay, also included in this adoption, as I spoke about before, is this teacher toolbox, which is a digital collection of all the resources in one convenient spot: lesson plans, pacing documents, scope and sequence, the slides that instructors use when delivering the instruction, all of the digital content in one spot. And then the personalized instruction, again, is that piece that is just for students, giving them just what they need. It complements the teacher-led instruction, provides lessons in the foundational skills, comprehension and vocabulary, reinforces those critical standards on the path to skilled reading. Okay, next slide. Moving quickly here. We're almost done. We're almost rounding home, I promise. So the diagnostic, again, just to reiterate, this data gives a picture of student performance. The teachers then use this, and they're becoming very, very savvy at using the iReady data versus the NWEA data. They're getting very savvy at it helps them to form their groups. It helps them to differentiate their instruction, and they use it to accelerate the learning for each and every student. Okay, so lots of good stuff there. I'd be remiss, though, in sitting down right at this moment, because I haven't yet told you the input from staff and students. So that's our final piece here. So there were many strengths. This slide came from our final debrief meeting. Actually, if you go back a little bit. Our final debrief with teachers. There were definitely many more strengths than challenges. These were some of them that we were able to highlight and pull. Things like state-approved benchmark, common dashboard, one-stop shop, eliminates all the additional resources that you saw on a slide earlier here. There were very few things that the teachers didn't like about this resource. And again, they have this familiarity with it already, I think, because they're so used to using it for math. The two of the things that they lifted were they were mindful of how much testing kids were going through, and they gave this diagnostic right after NWEA and some of the other winter testing that we did. And the other thing was they were concerned at first about the increased rigor with some of the text and some of the vocabulary words and spelling words. But my answer to that, as the curriculum director for East Point Community Schools, is those are two really good problems that we hope, will solve themselves over time, right? Increased rigor, we know we need to do that if we want to get kids moving in the right direction. So, same thing with the testing. There's some things that yes, we're mindful our kids do test a lot, but this test gives teachers the information that they can use immediately to help move kids forward. Student input really does speak for itself. We visited actually, we were at Crescentwood for these pictures, I think, Principal Baskin. And all smiles, high fives. I don't know if you can see that one in the middle. It's two kids that high-fiving one another. I just love that picture. But they really like that it is much more engaging than what they've used before. It's easier. One of the students told us, and they love that science. I don't know what grade level that was in Miss Blaz's room, but a student was talking about how they read The Boy Who Cried Wolf, and they were comparing it with the Boy Who Cried Alien or something like that. So he just couldn't wait to share that with us. For teacher input, I wish that we had time to read through all of these. I will not read that slide to you, but if you come to our presentation on the 19th, I will have a little packet of these for you. It was amazing to see how much time and effort our pilot team put into this. We did ask for input on a checklist where they had to check yes or no and then put evidence, but then there was this additional considerations piece, and they wrote these big, long, beautiful, essays really about how much they liked these resources. So I won't read them, but again, thank you to the staff who did their due diligence and thoughtfully and intentionally responded to everything that we gave them. The next slide talks, well, there's actually two. Go ahead, there's one more teacher one. Okay. And then our principal and coach input, remember they were part of that core adoption team. So after we met with the teachers and debriefed, we then met with this team to get their seal of approval as well. And they had some really great feedback for us as well. I'd like to share that. They felt it matched up with the literacy essentials. They love to see students and staff excited about reading. Students are writing more. Students are showing an increase in student engagement. Teachers know what to do. Lots of positive changes. No pushback, like with MESA, which is the current ELA curriculum. So again, positive comment after positive comment really there. Couldn't put these on the editing room floor, just some more pictures of students who are engaged in their reading and just different ways of utilizing their time in that literacy block. There are some built-in routines in iReady that the teachers are trained in and that help get the kids engaged. So whether it's reading with a buddy or doing some of those get up and move kind of activities, there's routines sprinkled throughout. Okay, finally, invitations were sent out, I believe, to each of you. We are inviting you to come and review the resources because as I quickly went through all of the components today, there's a lot of different books. And so you might want to get your hands on them, flip through. We will be at central office in the superintendent's conference room from 9:30 to 11:30. Please contact me with any questions, or if you needed a different time and you wanted to swing by, we're happy to accommodate you, but we really would love you to see these materials. And finally, probably what some of you have been waiting for, the cost. So a 5-year adoption will cost about $630,000, which is not bad considering that we have a 5-year adoption that we're asking for with all of those resources. So that includes all of the print, all of the digital, the diagnostic, the toolbox for teachers, which is more than they could ever hope to have. We also were very fortunate. Assistant Superintendent Fleming is able to cover 50% of this approximately with a 35J grant that we just got approved. So that is amazing as well. So just keeps getting better and better. I thank you for your time this evening. Again, we have 2 weeks before we meet again, so please reach out with any questions, comments. If you have anything that you would like Jeff to address from Curriculum Associates, I'm putting him on the spot by offering him up right now, and Donna and I are here as well, if you have any questions.
I'd just like to say that I'm excited because you're excited, so I know it feeds into the kids, so they're excited. So that's interesting. Your enthusiasm and your excitement about the program itself just intrigues me. So I'm going to go back to K3. No, but that's incredible how excited you are.
Yeah, thank you.
I would love to see the program. However, I won't be able to be there that day. So if I give you my number.
Yeah, let's schedule something.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry. We'll be in Lansing that day, that weekend for school board conference.
Okay.
And so I was going to ask the same thing, if it's possible, even if it's just the digital portion, if we can be able to see it. Because I know it's not our responsibility to really see any of the actual. So I appreciate that you're allowing us to do that, because that's, that's not our, but I appreciate that you're allowing us to do that. So if you can give us the digital version so I can look at it. Because when we adopted the iReady reading portion, I remember the excitement that people had when they came and they told us about it and how it really affected and how the increase in scores happened. And so I just see that happening with the iReady math. And I believe that this will be a great increase to our curriculum. So I appreciate it. And I agree with Mr. Williams. Your excitement has the staff have to feed off of it. If they don't, I don't know why, because you are always excited when you come up here for your presentation.
Well, they did the hard
to
work.
show us, what's going on. And so it really is wonderful, because that means you are invested in making sure that we have a great curriculum. Because more and more we hear, the school district is this, the school district is this. These kind of things help disprove all of those things. So I appreciate you for doing it.
Oh, thank you.
I wanted she pretty much said everything I was going to say. But I just want to say that I probably won't be there because I don't feel like I need to. That's your job, and I trust everything, Like she said, you're excited, kids are excited. I've heard nothing but great things with the other, the pilot.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I have to do somebody else's job, so good job.
Thank you.
Well, I'll be there on the
Great.
19th at 9:30. As an educator, I'm interested in what's being taught and see the zeal that the teachers have.
Yeah, excellent. I look forward to seeing you there.
The best part about when you give presentations like this and you give us the information, and when you open up the doors to allow people who want to delve in a little bit deeper, to delve in deeper, the best part about that is no, we don't analyze and decide which curriculum to bring up here for approval. That's your job, okay? But what it does do for us as board members, it gives us the opportunity to speak with a certain knowledge level to members of the public if they approach us They want to know what's going on in our schools. Even the presentation like Ms. Baskin gave as well, too. It gives us some information as to what's going on in our schools, so we can tell the story to people, to the residents of our community as well, too.
Absolutely.
And I only have one other last comment on it, is the core team that you had up there, I did recognize some of the names of the teachers, and I got to admit, you had one heck of a team. You got one heck of a core team
It was
there.
one heck of a team.
Let's put it this way, I think there's a draft going on in Detroit. They might want you down there to be picking some of the people to
Yeah,
play for them.
You're right,
Because
maybe I better.
you pick these people. The other question I have is, besides all of these folks that were involved with this, about roughly, and just ballpark it, how many other educators have touched and, I guess, played with it and looked at it? and-
Great question. So
Because there's a lot of educators, and it sounds like you had a lot of people involved.
So we had the agreement that just the pilot teachers would use this, and everyone else would carry on with the current resources. And I know there was some jealousy, for sure, throughout that pilot period, but our instructional coaches in buildings were able to take back, we had a lot of sample materials, and they were able to take those back. I know some buildings had those on display in their teachers' lounges, so pretty much everyone in that building who wanted to see materials from all of the vendors,
So-
they were able to get their hands on all of those.
So that pilot team up there, is that actually the teachers that were using it?
Yes,
Those were actually the individuals that were using it in the
yes, my
classroom?
terrific 12.
But there was an old movie, I won't even get into the old movie.
Oh, maybe I better
Terrific
stop
12 is
using
better
that.
than what the old movie title was. Anyways, I was just going to say, so besides those 12 people who have been using it on a regular basis, there have been some others who have kind of looked at it a
They've
little
seen
bit
it,
and they've
yes,
seen some of it.
yes,
And they're more
yes,
jealous
but
than
they're not-
anything.
Right, but they're not using it at this point.
So based upon your excitement and their jealousy, it sounds like it's a pretty good thing.
There you go, the recipe for a great curriculum adoption.
I think what solidified it for me was Lisa came to a meeting right off of pilot team, and she said that the teachers were commenting on how the kids were sad the pilot was ending because they liked using those materials better than the other materials. And they liked learning hard things. And that resonated for me, that our children want the intellectual challenge and they want the rich texts that are provided with this resource. Thank you very much, Lisa and Stephanie, for the presentation this evening.
Thank you.
That's it. Now we're down to number 10. Or no, number 9, I'm sorry. We gotta do number 9 and then 10.
We will be having it here in this room.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion to go into executive closed session?
Make a motion that we go into executive closed session for attorney-client privilege.
Support. Please call the vote.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Grunberg,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes, Mrs. Rayford. Mrs. Richardson.
Yes.
And Mrs. Grunberg.
Yes.
Okay, we do have one other action item, but we will need to use this room, so I think everybody basically has to vacate, except I believe Wendy and the board members, right? We're staying in here?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it because they're.
We're just gonna pull out a couple tables. We gotta do something really quick. If you wanna, I don't know how many seats are down at the other end of the foyer down there. Oh, you don't have to stick around if you don't want to. That's up to you. You gonna go?
Support.
Okay, because you're counting the one, right? So we got two, right? Yeah.
Please call a vote.
Mr. Grunberg,
Yes.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mrs. Rayford, Mrs. Richardson, and Mrs. Oh. Right.
Meeting adjourned. If anybody wants to hear it, here's the post. White people don't like reminders of history in America. Is it because of how native inhabitants or slaves were treated? I wonder why.